Today's video, we're going to look at the company Weyco, which is symbol W-E-Y-S. We're going to look at the operations for the company. So the first thing I want to talk about is gross margins. I always start there. And I thought today I would spend a little time on why I start with gross margins. So first, a definition: gross margins is a company's net sales revenue minus its cost of goods sold. So in other words, it's the sales revenue the company retains after incurring the direct costs associated with the goods it sells or the service it provides. So why do I start there? Well, if a company has very, very small gross margins, that means that the costs of the goods that it's using to manufacture its services or products use most of the profit, and there's very, very small margin there. And that very small margin means there's not much room for mistakes. And it typically is the case that companies like that are selling commodities, that they are competing against a whole bunch of people to sell the same product. If a company has a competitive advantage or is a consumer monopoly, which is what I look for, they tend to not have many competitors, and so the costs of the goods relative to make the product aren't the significant component of the product's price. So giving an example, the cost for each additional, when looking at software, for example, the cost to produce software after you take care of the R&D and create the software is virtually nothing. But people will pay for the software even though it costs virtually nothing because they need that software. When you compare that to when you're producing aluminum, the cost of aluminum is virtually 100% is the cost to produce the aluminum. And so we want to avoid companies that have very low gross margins because there's very little margin of error, and there tends to be, the fact that there's low margins tends to mean there's lots and lots of competitors. When we have really high margins, that means we can charge those high margins, so we tend to have not many competitors. So I look at gross margins as a symptom of a company that either does or doesn't have a consumer monopoly. So the gross margins for Weyco, I use 40% gross margins as a number that I look at as, it's not exactly a minimum, but it's the area at which I become interested. And the gross margins for Weyco have typically been very close to, 40%, but they tend to be just slightly below it, which to me would be a disqualifying factor. It's one of the reasons why I don't think these companies are really long-term hold, because it has adequate gross margins, but not great gross margins. The second thing I want you to look at is earnings. If you look at the earnings for this company, they've gone up slightly since 2009, but really since 2012 or 13, they've been basically flat, kind of gyrated up and down. And so again, this is a reason why I would not normally be interested in the company. However, you don't look at these things in a volume. That's gross earnings. When you look at earnings per share, you see that they've gone up relatively consistently since 2009. And the reason that that's happened is because, as we'll find out later in our research on the company, they've been buying back shares, and they bought back about 12% of the shares in the last 10 years. So if you buy back 12% of the shares and the earnings are relatively flat, that means the earnings have gone up 12%. When the earnings have gone up 12% and you've thrown dividends into the fray and a number of other factors, you start getting a company where even though the earnings have been relatively flat, the company has increased in value for the shareholders. So again, I've talked about this in the overview for the company, but this company, if I simply looked at operations, would in no way be a quality company that I would consider buying simply because of its operations. It's because of the totality of the company. So I'm talking about its weakest components now. So take that into effect as you consider buying this company. But here we're looking at net earnings as a percentage of revenue, and again, you can see they're sort of in the exact middle of the pack. And you're going to hear that sort of theme over and over again as we look at this company's operations. Selling and general administrative for this company is very, very high. Plants and equipment are very, very low. It tends to even out for, again, more middle of the pack. Again, I talk about this in every video, but when I look at a company, I look at it in slices. And the first slice is, what are the gross margins? So what is the company's gross revenues? What's it cost to make the products that they sell? Then what's left is what I call my second slice. And the second slice is 4 sets of expenses that I call the operating taxes: selling and general administrative, plants and equipment, research and development, and inventory. And so in the second group of slices, this company, you're going to see is, again, it's not bad, it's not great, it's sort of average. We're looking at buying this company because we love the dividend, because we think it's underpriced relative to the quality of company, and because the management does a very good job of returning what profits there are to the shareholders. You're not going to find the compelling argument to buy it in this video. So here you can see again, inventory and R&D. R&D, it has no R&D, so it's absolutely the best there, but it's in the bottom 10% of companies they look at in terms of inventory. As you can imagine, a shoe company, they have to have a lot of shoes in stock. I mean, for everyone, think about it this way, for every shoe they sell, they have to have 15 or 20 pairs in stock, right? Because they got to have every single size, not just your size, but every other size. So then when you walk in, they have to have the inventory to match you. So you can see why inventories are high in this industry. So it all evens out, right? Absolutely no R&D, but very high inventory sales. I'd like to see this company, I don't understand why this company couldn't do a slightly better job of inventory, which would make the company more attractive. But in the aggregate, I'm not dissatisfied with the company. So, a summary of the operations. First of all, let's keep this in context. This company sells shoes, right? So it's an old line manufacturer. It's unlikely there's going to be some technological shift in the manufacture of the shoes or of their products. Right? We're not going to see a brand new shoe. Men's dress shoes are going to be what men's dress shoes are going to be. So this company's not going to go obsolete. It's not going to become irrelevant. But it's also probably not going to take over the world. The company's operations are acceptable, but they're not exciting, right? Gross margins are, again, they're in the range that I'm interested, but not in the range that I'm thrilled. Profits per share are growing at a reasonable pace, but the actual profits that power those profits per share, when you don't adjust for share repurchases, are basically flat. Selling and general administrative, as well as inventory, are simply too high. Some of that's justifiable and some of it may or may not be, but that's offset by the absolutely zero R&D costs and relatively low plants and equipment. So the summary is, I like this company, but I like it in spite of its operations, not because of them. I'm much more excited by its dividends, its wealth creation, and the relatively low stock price relative to the quality company that it is in total. And so that's my reason for suggesting this company. I haven't talked about this much, but I've set up a Twitter account. That's at Robinson Stocks. I set that account up because it takes a few days from the time I decide to buy a stock to the time that I can get a video made and posted on YouTube. So if you want real-time information on my trades, if you want updates on when new videos are posted, and or you want news and thoughts on the market or stocks in our portfolio, then go ahead and follow me on Twitter. Also, please subscribe, like, and comment. It all helps as I'm trying to grow the community. Finally, if you have comments or thoughts on any of these things, I am interested. I'm not just trying to have a monologue. I'd like to have a dialogue with people. So feel free to give me your comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Thanks.